Sorry. Hi, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, and good evening. Those are joined from the different location. So today is like a great day for us. So the Microsoft Purview days, which has been planned, and I'm very much interested to participate from my side. As one of the participant, I'm really proud of this one. Okay, so let's move on. So this is a one-day event, and so you guys have the lot of the fun stuff going to be there. Like every event, it has the quiz program. Probably you know that. So even here also we have the quiz. So if you win that, so there are opportunities for to win the lot of gifts from the organizing team. So try to participate and get this amazing options and opportunity for you guys, right? So it's a good thing for you guys. So let me move on. And here is education is a really is a powerful tool for any human being across the globe to sustain and like want to shine in their life. That's really very important. So as we are responsible for this, so we have to um, support the education through this channel. That's the reason actually. So they brought up the option. So here we have Don Bosco Navajivan Society. So please contribute your support and support these girls to like get the powerful and empower the girls with education. So please donate today as much as you possible. Thank you. So the session 6. So I'm Shanthababu Pandian. I'm AI data analytics lead. So the topic is Microsoft Purview data lifecycle management and its significance. All right. So the given timeline, so I'll try to fix it on that. So I prepared as well enough slides, I believe. Let me move on. Right. So here we have the data, right? In the current scenario, all the organization, irrespective of any domain, the people, they started thinking about the data. So data is across, right? So 10 years back, we get the inputs from the front end screen and store all the information into the database. The database could be Oracle or SQL or based on the DB2, something like sometime. So there are multiple databases storing that one. After some time, I mean, when you go to the reporting system, so we created a simple reports, like kind of sales report, invoice report, purchasing report, like kind of the details, weekly basis, monthly basis, something like that. All right, using the crystal report, a data report, and then slowly we move into like the Microsoft introduced SSRS, so that predominantly like creating a beautiful and along with like some visualization chart as well, like they provided in SSRS package. So the things are not stopped there, so still is going. And once it's like when they move into the cloud, so the entire stuff has got changed, right? So even before the cloud come into the picture, so we had the data warehousing explicitly to build the robust reporting system. So they separated the two different data streams, going to be OLTP and OLAP, right? So that is application transaction as well as like the operation transaction point of view. So the data has been grown, and even if it is that we are discussing about everything on the cloud, so the Azure providing like Azure tools, there are a lot of components and playing with the data, right? So here we need the data has to be precisely take care of that. So that's the reason. So they have brought up something called the data lifecycle management. That is very, very important because the purview is like close related, not close related. That's exactly related with that. Like specifically, they build this specific component for data lifecycle management point of view. So if you talk about the data lifecycle management, so we have a flow of information, systems, data throughout the lifecycle, right? So it's going to be like a creation, storage, service, and after that, like if the data is not required, you can store it in cold storage, or else it's like we can remove the data, deleting the data, archiving the data. So what are the things we can execute the cloud? So we have to take care of that. The data once you get inside the application and once move on to the cloud. So we have to take care of that, the entire data for the specific reasons, right? So that's the reason after getting all the information through not only the application, it now we have social medias like Twitter, Facebook, and so Instagram, so many things are there. So we are taking the data, we are collecting the data, and we are doing like a lot of analysis so that the data is really required for the multiple things, right? So when we are establishing that data platform on the cloud, obviously we need to set up some policies, rules and regulations, right? So we need to strengthen the system. So that's the reason actually they brought up the data governance. So the Purview is like completely taking care of the data governance in his hand and providing a multiple options to take care of all this stuff, right? We'll see that one by one. So what exactly the data governance? Data governance is a set of group we need to build in every organization. So they will decide who's supposed to access, who can access the data, how long they can access, how they are using that. Then we want to understand like the data, the data, how it's like keep on changing. That's nothing but CDC point of view I'm talking about. So we have that. And internally in data governance, it has a separate pillars. There's a kind of taking care of data quality, data security, and then metadata point of view, and so many things we have. So apart from that, it supports like, the data architecting and the data operations and development that already we have. But precisely the data quality and data security point of view, this specific data governance is really very important stuff. Okay. So it governance who can access what kind of data and what kind of data are under the governance. So we can decide that we can push the data. So we can, this is a kind of giving a proper giving a proper access to the right people at the right time. That's a thing, not a big deal. So the data governance strategy is actually is a framework, right? Every organization has to establish that. So if, for example, if I'm asking like what I used to do, then wherever like we are implementing the data platforms and data specific projects, so there I used to force them to make sure that the data governance in place or not. So if not, so I recommend this one. So make sure that one. That's great. So here you have a few questions. 3W1H. Where, who, what, and how. So if you look at this specific picture, so we have data governance. So we have a people, process, and technology. And there's a ownership, accessibility, security, quality, and the knowledge. I discussed about the quality and security point of view. I told in the earlier slide. But here, where it is physically stored. So with the help of the data governance, so we are deciding that what kind of data, where it is available. It's a kind of cataloging, right? Of course. And the second one is going to be who. Who has or who should have access to it. Means who can access the set of data. It's like kind of like when you're creating database, if you have a background of the database knowledge, assuming that. So we used to like giving access to the users, those who can access that database level, table level, and even for the row level, and there were some other privileges to access that. One, they're not using that is as a kind of group or else a kind of individuals, so we can assign that, right? The same way, so by using the data governance strategy, so we can find out who can access, who should access it to it. Those things we can do. And what? The definition of importance of the entities such as a customer, vendor, and transaction. So here we are going to make sure that the metadata perspective. So we are going to generate the metadata or importing the metadata. And then so we can find out like what is the possibilities of understanding the table, the specific column. So we can figure out that. That's a very important thing. And what is the current structure of the data? Yes. So you want to understand what is how the data structure, the data looks like. Then how the things get changed, keep on changing. That's nothing but CDC point of view. So we want to find out like capturing the data, how it's keep on changing that. So that perspective, we can track that the changes of the data across a streamline. And the quality. So quality point of view, you know very well, the current and desired quality of the source of data and consumable data sets. That's very important. So when we are moving to the cloud and analytical side, obviously we need to have the good hands with the quality, because we are going to find out the insight of the data, so that it needs to be taken care about that. So I'm not telling like in application side we don't bother about, but we should take that, because actually we are giving a lot of validation before taking the data into the database, because we have a front-end validation, so many validations there. Then after, even inside the database as well, like once we push the data into the database, save in the database or the table, I mean. So even there also, like what we are doing, like we are keep on validating that. But when coming to the specific to the quality aspects, we need to improve. Even we have a separate team, the data quality team. So they need to take care of that. They need to like scan across the table and what kind of the column need to be there. So they will decide that, those things. That's very important. Okay, right. So what is the main goal? What we want to do with this data and requirements. So what needs to be happen for the data, meet the goals. You know, right? I've told you guys like a cycle. After that, finding that requirements. What is my requirement? I want to create some KPI, all the blah blah. So then after certain time, so I need to take care of that, like what I can use with the data. For example, if I'm creating like weekly report as a visualization dashboard or some prediction for the last 6 months, something like that. So after 6 months, going to be like my previous 6 months data going to be like not at all used for my any other analysis, right? So that we need to either going to be archive or it's a soft delete, or it's going to be like what is that? So we can cold storage. So we are not going to access that for like next 1 year or 2 years, something like that. We can put it in the archive side as a cold storage in terms of the cloud view. But same time we need to have, so we need to take care of that. That's very important thing, right? So requirement perspective, we need to fulfill that. Then we want to understand like data, whether it's required or not. So but that perspective, we can utilize that one. Okay, cool. So what is the purpose of the Purview? Purview is doing all the work, what I mentioned that earlier in the few slides. That's going to be a Microsoft Purview designed to help the organization enable the better data governance by enabling the data discovery and data traceability and data searchability. So data discovery is like finding like what kind of data you want to use and how the things will be going to be there. And the data traceability is something but CDC, like how the data is keep on changing across your journey, all the stuff. And data searchability, if I want to access the specific data, how this is going to be, So with respect to this data discovery and traceability and searchability, searchability is another kind of a data cataloging. That's very important. So here, what is the benefits out of it here? As a key features, efficient business operation and streamlined data operation. That's a very important thing. So we can is achievable with the help of Microsoft Purview. Okay. Cool. So this is actually the Microsoft Purview governance portal as a overall kind of architecture layout. So it has a 4 major components: data catalog, data sharing, data estate insight, a data policy. And under that, we have a data map. That's a mapping that automated to manage the metadata at scale. That's very important thing, base bottom line. And it's here going to be like data producer and consumer, So they are going to use the data cataloging and data sharing. They're coming to that picture, and the data asset insight and policies like as a data officers. So data officers is nothing but the governance team, data governance team. So we have a multiple roles. So that we have, okay, the governor managers, stewards, and the data project manager. There are multiple roles or responsibilities are there. So when we get a chance, like we'll discuss later, any other discussion. So here we have on-premises or cloud, a SaaS application. So we need to migrate, we need to take the data from there on-premises and take it into your cloud, obviously, you know very well, right? And then, so we used to do all the, what is the data massaging, wrangling, all whatever the things we can utilize by the help of Microsoft AFD and Synapse, what are the new components, the various components are available. And we're exposing to that into the other SQL Server, Power BI, or as like any other downstream application. So we can execute that way, correct? But the pillar has to be taken care by the help of the proper governance. That is nothing but our Purview, right? Purview taking care of those things, because how this is complete orchestrating, whether it's going right way or who is accessing and who is going to be like managing that, and how the data is going like changing the transformation throughout the platform operations. So all the things we can perfectly track and we can do that way. So here in Purview we have we have data map and data catalog and estate inside app and sharing and policy, right? These are major things which is available in my Azure Purview. So it's a vast area, right? So discussing with that these things, it will take at least like a week, like 7-10 hours session might be required, because to explain each and everything is very interesting thing. Believe me on that. So the data map, so here, so Microsoft providing this, Microsoft Purview is providing the data map. So data mapping is a simple term. So the name itself, you can understand that, right? So here, there's the two options. Either developer and business user can do that. And business user can easily configure the use of the data in data map using the fantastic UI tool. Because actually Microsoft, generally they used to provide the UI, classical UI. So right from my experience, when I started working on Visual Basic 3, 4, 5, and .NET, so many things comes up. So the UI perspective is the classical, so that the business user can do the configuration of data mapping, right? X to X, Y to Y, what kind of the data they want to like map with that one. And developers can do that the same thing with the help of the programmatical way, right? Using open source Apache Atlas 2.2 APIs. But generally, like as a what is that, like a data engineers. So with the help of data governance team, so giving the knowledge and sharing the knowledge hands to hand, so they'll make that the configuration in the specific the data map privilege, which is provided by the Microsoft Purview. So the Microsoft Purview automates the data discovery by providing a data scanning and classification, so that they can find and scan the data what they want exactly to scan and get the data into the data storage, right? And Purview is a data map provides the foundation of discovery as well as a governance. So we need to configure that. Like basically, we have a lot of things are underneath. So we have to take care of that. How it needs to be, what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. So all the things has to be easily configurable. Doesn't matter. So it's a simple clicks here and there, few things, but you want to understand what exactly to want to achieve your the goal, the final goal. Okay. So once this has been mapped, then your catalog is get ready. So once the catalog ready, data cataloging, because actually earlier it was data cataloging tools we have, like, but there are a lot of challenges. But now we have precisely a complete the Purview perspective, like the data governance perspective. So we have this the Purview component. It's a vast component. So the component is simple word, but it's a host application, so that it's collaborating with other Azure data component, so that it will make them robust. All right. So once this get done, then we can go ahead for data insights, analytics. So many things we can do that. That's different way of doing that. But data mapping is a base. Once we set up that, Then it will be like need to be understanding, like scanning the data and classifying the data. It will be like, yes, this is the data we need, and take the data internally. So there's a process will taken care of by the ADF. The ADF also actually we have a separate uh, provision. So there we can go and do that, the data purview option. Then we can create like the data mapping, so that can simply we can map that, and that's what, so many things are available in our Azure environment portal. Okay, right. So here the catalog, right? The business as well as the technical user are quickly, easily find the relevant data for quick reference. So for example, here actually we have a sales data. So it's passing through the different ways. So what are the data they need? They can find out the glossaries, classification, and sensitive labeling. Because actually, so once the data, the objective of the data governance point of view, the cataloging, data catalog underneath. So we have to give the glossaries terminology, right? The business way and technical way. There are the two things we have to mention, that business way and technical way. We have to highlight that this is specifically for the glossary, business glossary management in terms of technical as well as business. So mostly like a technical point of view, like people can understand the table name, so they're not much challenging with the any other developers. But the business users, they cannot understand. They may not, and they're not required to understand. For example, so we have a column name, employee underscore salary or employee underscore department, something like that. So it's understandable, but some complex column name, if that, then they won't understand what exactly the business reasons behind the business, the specific the column. So those information actually they can have that with the help of the data cataloging app. And the consumer producers can also visually trace the lineage of the data sets. As I mentioned, the data lineage, right? So data lineage, for example, starting from the operational system on premises through the movement and transformation and various data storages, like it's like from ALDS, and then it's moving to the as a normal what is that, a SQL server, or else like from the Azure SQL server into the some flat files, and then again stored in uh, some storage, and then again move to the given to the Synapse. So that the transformation of the various stages processing system could be easily understanding, and until like even if you're exposing the specific data set to the Power BI to prepare the what is that the reports, so they can understand like the data lineage and how the things are going on, so they can trace that information. So as a consumer and producer way, and then and obviously the business and technical users can understand like how what are the available glossaries and how it has been classified. Is there any GDPR perspective? So if you want to hide some data, so sensitive data information, so they can label those things. So all the things we can do it in the data cataloging system. So here we have the browsers, so simple stuff. So it's the same way, right? When you open to the ADF, so it will separate window the same way as a normal way. Like so, we even in yeah, bro, Azure Purview also we have a similar setup. We can go ahead and do it that one, right? And then we have a data estate in setup. So because this is purely data governance people, so those are the data governance handling taking care of that. Actually, they will decide. They have a committee, the entire committee. If some they're bringing some data base, it's a collection of table from the on premises, and they're bringing into the cloud. They want to make sometimes they'll use as such, but there is no point. But if they're going to planning for something, a data warehousing system, or they want to prepare anything inside, so obviously they'll do the transformation, and they will decide what data can access by who, right? Or it's a table level or column level, so they can configure that way. So the chief data officers and the data stewards and other data stakeholders can have the bird eye view on their data estate, how it looks like. What are, because actually they don't go very detailed, right? As a group wise, they can understand that, and they can create actionable insight into the governance and fulfill the gaps of the data governance aspects. So they want to improvise the data governance perspective, so they can understand that how things are configured, who is access, like what is that, who is using that, and user activity. All the things actually they can capture, they can monitor that, and then they can go ahead for uh, the further actionable insights from the specific the data estate inside app. So this is going to be like this only. So here we can have a stewards insight, right? If I'm a stewardship, the rights, so I can go and see like asset creation and asset data ownership, how it is like the owner assigned, no owner assigned. So I can find out like the specific database. So I can find out like the either whether assigned or not. And in the below the data estate health, you can find out like master collection and so many things like what is that like with the sensitive data is as 62% and fully created 100% owner assigned. So they can find out like whether all the data governance aspects action taken care or not. If it does not happen, then they can take action to like advise the team to that specific what is that configuration in using Azure Purview tools, so they can do that way. That's a very important thing. So most of the things actually in Azure, hope you know that, right? In Azure, so we have so many options to visualize in the reporting wise. So that really help us a lot. And here the data sharing app, it enables organization to secure, share both within the organization, business partners and customers. So as I mentioned that like I'm getting the data from the different application. There are the data owners and taking the data and doing all data massaging, triangling, and doing for my analytical point of view and providing analytical providers so they can prepare the reports or they can go for machine learning algorithm and they can put it in back into the application and then it's like so the inside the what they figure out. So again they'll push back into the back to the owner or any other end users. So those are required for that insight. So that way, actually, so we can configure the data sharing application. So data provider and data consumer is the main role at the two sides of the left and right side, extreme left, extreme right. We used to call the data providers and consumers. So they have to have the proper handshake. Then only we can establish all these things because we want to make sure them nothing has been like sensitive data has been leaked and we have this is your data and this is your insight, this is your prediction. So those that way actually we can advise them, right? And they can improvise the process and what I say. So they can improvise their business basically, right? And policy. This is a set of central cloud-based experience and that you can manage the data sources and assets secured back to the and at scale. So here you can see that resource group we have, right? So the user and group, right, under the Azure Active Directory. So they can see that like what kind of the resource they can use and we can configure at the resource level and table level and the storage level, data storage level, right? So here the complete granular level of information we can figure out like, so once if you assign the specific user or group of user to the resource group and we can restrict again to the first level and bottommost level, so we can figure out how the things are happening in the data policy app. So that's such a way we can configure and we can proceed with that. So Microsoft Purview is a data policy app here. So Active Directory is just again the role-based things how it's working. So Microsoft Purview account. So we should have how we have a account for storage account and we have for ALDS account and the Synapse accounts we have, right? Same way in Microsoft Purview also we have to create a specific account and we need to do the configuration and root collection and we have multiple what is that the group kind of I would say the mart or data mart, right? So we can create a sales perspective, a marketing perspective, and finance perspective. So those we need to access which business unit to access business unit one and sales and project team and project other things and either financial team like finance team or else like any other stuff. So here we can restrict this with the help of data policy. So we can configure such a way so that data will be like highly secured and not accessible by outsiders. So here, so we have discussed about the various components which is available in Purview, right? That is mainly we have discussed about map, data catalog, data estate, and sharing app, data sharing app, and policy. So these are things are available And what are the challenges we had? But prior to that, even for my project, actually implementing data governance is really challenging one. Even for data lineage is also challenging, and even for CDs is like uncomparable when we are doing like the Azure way. But now, what are the challenges? No central location for registered data sources. But here we have doing that. Data consumption experience required the details of data sources. So it is available there. And we have a documentation, and we have a data and experts that understand the data context. So we are bringing that all the data cataloging and glossary things we have, so that it will completely documented in one shop stop. That's very important. And challenges for the data producers, that's the consumer side and producer side. Restrict the access to the data source, ensuring the data consumers how request to access. So creating the and maintaining the documentation and data sources complex and time consuming. So again, so for that data consumer, data producers, they're very cautious about sensitivity and security, right? Like forget about the quality. Quality probably will take it through that the ADF as well. But here, so we need to understand what is the business reasons we want to understand the full documentation. So perfectly we can do those things actually with the help of Azure Purview. Okay, so these are the things addressing way. And is this a workflow? So here the line one is a line of business. The data has been like scanning and classification through the data, the governance Azure Purview, right? And so we are taking care of that in the data management inside that. And again, so we are taking the data for source through the our data factory and coming into the via I would say as a data purview, so that it has been like completely like what is that like configured, who needs to be accessed, what needs to be accessed, how they can access all the things we can proceed. So that way, and that's what actually, so the step 5. So the enrich the master metadata and preview with the governance details. So we have all the informations. So the both ways, like so we are going to execute that. I mean, like the governance framework, data governance framework on data platform. And so once it's done, then it leverages the entity data governance and stewardship activities. Like as I mentioned, like so we have a different roles in data governance. They need to monitor how things are going, whether it's like right people are accessing the right data. I want to restrict anything, or else like any new data has been published. So overall need to access that. All the things that's been taken care of, different roles and responsibilities under the data governance. And once it's published, high quality master data for analysis and operations to the CNAPs or any external Power BI, whatever it is directly, or it's like machine learning, Azure machine learning environment from there. So we can take the journey, we can go ahead for that, because once it's landed into the Power BI layer, so obviously they're going to do something, what they're going to create a solution in all aspects. Got it? So these are the list of Purview or the full name changes. Actually, at this present, that there are 18 products. Apart from this, what we have discussed, there are so many products are merged into the Azure Purview. So that just for information, I've added this slide. Okay. So I pretty much covered like the complete the life cycle. What are the significance of each and every the components inside the subcomponents of the Purview. So it's just a kind of glimpse to you within the given timeline. So it's really, right? It's a kind of massive thing. But anyway, like keep updating and keep like implementing in our project, so that we get benefit for everyone, right? And thanks for this a great opportunity, Microsoft Pantra and Rapid Circle and OSS Store 365, and my special thanks to the organizer and Vignesh. So he has given an opportunity for me to present this wonderful session with the bigger audience. Thank you guys. So we'll catch up in the next session. I'm waiting for that eagerly. So then have a great weekend and have a great year. Thank you. Bye.